everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of season 5, if you can imagine, of CCFR Radio on the Air. I'm your host, Rod Giltaca. Thanks for joining me again. Today, we've got an action-packed show for you. We got an interview with our special guest, the Commissioner of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office, Robert Freberg, coming on to talk about the buyback, talk about what Saskatchewan is doing to protect law-abiding licensed gun owners. We also have a conversation about self-defense that is happening across the nation, which is very interesting for a number of different reasons, including Castle Doctrine of all things. And we are also going to chat about the controversial grandfathering initiative that the CCFR rolled out there, a little bit of a spicy conversation, all that and more. CCFR Radio starts right now.
CCFR Radio on the Air is brought to you by Wild TV Plus, the best hunting, fishing, and outdoor content available anywhere, anytime, on any device. Visit wildtvplus.ca.
All right, we are back. And of course, we have Tracey Wilson of the CCFR. Wilson! This is episode 1 of the 5th season of CCFR Radio on the Air. This is our 5th year on Wild TV.
That's actually hard to believe. To think about it being in season 5 is pretty wild. But even cooler than that, so as you know, viewers, we also have a podcast version of this that we air online. And I was looking up to see when you did the very first episode of that. And that was on September 8th of 2017. So 8 years ago.
Yeah.
For the podcast. So crazy. That's good.
Yeah, we'll be doing episode 200 of that on or about December the 4th. So
that's a lot of talking.
Been a long haul, man. Speaking of talking, we better move on. So Parliament is reconvening. These guys are actually going to go to work. I think they've been at work 50 days in the last 365 or something crazy. But they're going to be heading back to Parliament soon. And so what's that all about?
Yeah, so September 15th, the House of Commons will resume. And of course, you'll remember they've been off all summer like they normally are. They're supposed to be working in their constituency offices on the barbecue circuit. And before that, they were only sitting for a couple of weeks after the election. Poilievre didn't have his seat. So it was just, pretty vanilla. Nothing really happened. But before that, you had the election. You had Trudeau proroguing. Like, these guys haven't worked basically all of 2025. So this should be really interesting. Pierre Poilievre is back, of course, after his by-election win. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. So the action starts Monday, and we'll see what the tone is like compared to the last term. So very interesting.
All right. So real quick, we've been banging on the door of public safety. It seems to be this is the new boss is the same as the old boss. No response from Gary Anandasangari's office about the buyback and what have you. But they did come out with some information in the media about the status of the buyback. What's going on real quick there?
Yeah, that's right. So we've sent meeting requests, official meeting requests to the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, the Department of Justice, and Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasangari. Both the PMO and the DOJ answered and said, thank you for your email or your request. But this falls under the purview of the Public Safety Minister, who has yet to respond, despite the CCFR being the largest stakeholder on this file. At the same time, there's also information coming out that they are going ahead with the buyback confiscation program for individuals, despite not being fully done, the retailer ones. So I don't know what's happening, if they're going to get it done or not. I know for a fact there's 156 people working full-time right here in Ottawa right now on that confiscation program. And the minister said in some commentary a couple of weeks ago to both the Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail that he's very excited to revive that program and get confiscating. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see if there's any truth to that, but time will tell. In the coming weeks, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're going to get this rolled out by the end of the month, but we'll see. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that might look like in the next segment. Just I just want to foreshadow a little bit. We knew about the position that public safety was going to take on the buyback program, that they are actually going to roll it out weeks before that announcement. And that's what created the impetus for the red alert video that some people saw and some people didn't like. But we're going to talk about that when we come back, so stick with us. All right, we are back. Now, we've got some interesting things to talk about. Just whatever, I think about 4 weeks ago, I had come out with this red alert video on all of our social media. And basically what it was the CCFR had created a grandfathering proposal for the Liberal government, and we sent it to the Liberal government. And we also put it out for our members to go to their Liberal members of Parliament to show them, hey, listen, there's another way to handle this whole thing, another path to take other than total confiscation and having taxpayers pay billions upon billions of dollars in another boondoggle like the long gun registry. And that's grandfathering, which would have allowed everyone to keep their firearms, use them as their previous classification. And then no more would come into the country. They'd kind of accomplish some goals, but people would be able to keep their guns and use them and pass them down to people that had the same license. And the Liberals wouldn't spend billions of dollars when Canadians could least afford it. A lot of people didn't like that, as if we're advocating for that rather than to repeal the whole program. Do you have some commentary on that?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I think not everybody is politically in tune, and I get it. I understand that. I mean, I live and breathe it. I don't expect everyone else to do the same. And of course, I think the best thing Mark Carney could do as the new prime minister of this Liberal government would be to just scrap the bans altogether, overturn them. Sure, open up the markets again. Let us keep our stuff, maybe even sell new ones. That's not going to happen. I think the reality of the situation that we're in wasn't apparent to everybody, and they think maybe there was some alternative. We had information prior that they are going ahead with this. So yes, they are going ahead with confiscations. Other people said, well, why do anything? Why not just let it fail? Most people aren't going to comply. And that might be true. However, they could still do that. That wouldn't change anything. The problem is then you have to spend the rest of your life hiding underground with these illegal firearms. And for some people, that wouldn't be good enough. They want to use them. They want to buy and sell amongst each other and keep them in their possession so that maybe one day down the road, we could change the thing entirely. So yeah, Mark Carney is not going to just reverse all the gun bans and open everything back up. That is not going to happen. Our cards that we have left to play suck. And that's the unfortunate reality. Nobody likes this less than we do. But I get it. It's very divisive and it makes people upset. I'm upset too.
Yeah.
So I understand it.
Well, for the people that got really upset at us, like, don't worry, they're not going to do grandfathering. You're not going to have to be subjected to keeping your guns or in some kind of grandfathering scheme and or registering them, which would be part of that, right? You can't really have grandfathering.
Yeah, they rejected it.
Yeah, without registration. And we are the biggest proponents of opponents of registration out there. Like, registration leads to confiscation, as we see. But here's the thing: they were never going to do grandfathering in the first place. And now that they've been presented very publicly, and we've sent it to all the media as well, with an option that would have cost Canadians nothing, and licensed gun owners who are not responsible for firearm-related violence, that plan would have treated them as fairly as possible under the circumstances. And they stepped away from that. They turned away from that plan. And they were always going to go with confiscation. So what this allows us to do is they're going to wear that. When this thing turns into a massive boondoggle, they're going to wear every bit of it, because they were presented with another plan that looks just like all the other grandfathering that the government did. And they didn't want to do that. They wanted to create this boondoggle and treat gun owners horribly. So it's just going to help us, maybe even in another election, just show how unreasonable and irresponsible this government is. So anyway, yeah. So for everybody that got mad, don't get mad. It's not us that's taking any guns. And don't worry, you're not gonna get grandfathering. They were never gonna do it in the first place. So it's just part of the political kind of game that we're having to play with these people. But anyway.
Exactly.
Now, there's a really incredibly important conversation going on in Canada. And it's about self-defense, and it's about Castle Doctrine. Do you want to chat about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, things have been kind of boiling out of control lately. And I think it all started with there's a guy in Vaughan who woke up to somebody breaking into his house through his daughter's bedroom window with a crossbow at 3 a.m. excuse me. And I guess he defended himself and his daughter with a knife and very badly hurt the home invader. And he was charged. So that sparked a national conversation on self defense and bail reform and castle law and all of these things. Um, Along with all the other news that we're seeing, right? These armed home invasions are almost commonplace now. I never saw anything like that, 20, 30 years ago. You would hear one and it would be national news. Now they're just daily. It's almost, tiresome. And of course, when people start talking about things like defense, Minister of Justice Sean Fraser, who screwed up every other file he's worked on, said, whoa, here. Canada is not the Wild West. Not referring to the out of control criminals making it the Wild West, but the idea that somebody would have the nerve or the idea that defending themselves or the lives of their children is a worthy cause. So yeah, he's been eating it on that for 2 weeks straight.
He
So,
absolutely has, and he deserves to eat it. Like how out of touch. And of course, there was the Chief McSween from the York Police Service. He stepped
yeah,
in it as well, telling people that they can comply their way out of violence, which of course,
Yep.
9.98 times out of 10, you can't. It's just been a mess. But the reason why we bring it up is it's a really important and very welcome opportunity to talk about the fact that people have an inherent human right to defend themselves using whatever means is necessary under the circumstances in the face of violence. And it's been a long time coming, and it seems like the country's really starting to talk about it now, which is good.
yeah, unfortunately, it comes at a great cost with the violence we're seeing, but better now than never.
Yeah,
So,
it is. Okay. Well, we're out of time. When we come back, we've got a really important interview. So thank you for the update, and we'll see you in the next one.
all right, we'll see you then.
All right, we are back, and I'd like to welcome Robert Freberg, who is the Commissioner for the Saskatchewan Firearms Office. It's a bit of a mouthful, also known as the SFO for Saskatchewan. Welcome, Robert.
Morning.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and we have some really interesting things to talk about, so we're going to get started right away. Can you give us maybe just a few minutes, 40 seconds, maybe a minute overview of what the SFO's office does in Saskatchewan?
Well, the Sask Firearms Office, Rod, came out of us taking over the CFO responsibilities initially back in September of 2021. But as we got into it, we realized there was a lot more work that needed to be done. So we've established the ballistics lab, which is a provincial lab for supporting law enforcement of analysis of firearms. We've put a legal unit together to work with developing the Sask Firearms Act and also working with our folks on revoking firearm license of people that have issues with mental health or domestic violence. And then at the same time, we have a client services unit that's involved with promoting firearm safety training, awareness, education, and of course, advocacy, which is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So I'm just going to get us right into it here. Do you have any indications that the government is moving forward with this, quote unquote, buy back the confiscation program?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had discussions with senior levels of government and within the public safety office, as well as with the minister and officials of the RCMP at a high level. And it's absolutely been confirmed to us that they're moving forward with this starting this fall, and that they want to wrap it up by the end of 26.
That's pretty terrifying. So I know that the province of Saskatchewan, particularly through your office and a lot through your efforts and your team, have taken some steps legislatively and otherwise to protect licensed, law-abiding gun owners in Saskatchewan. Can you give us a quick overview of what that looks like?
Well, I should mention, so in April of 2023, we went ahead and passed the Saskatchewan Firearms Act legislation, and there's a lot of components to it. One is, of course, is allowing for administrative charges for things like letting your license expire, potentially not fully understanding your responsibilities under safe storage, and basically driving those as a provincial alternate measures type charge versus a criminal code charge. And so that's been one of the things. Then again, we also put some legislation into place to dictate or spell out how people are going to be involved in the seizure program. So there is a licensing requirement for anyone involved in the seizure of firearms, whether that be a police agency or that be an individual agency or a courier company or whatever that's involved in that gun confiscation needs to be licensed through our office. And then we've also put in some provisions in there with regards to compensation because we feel that we have constitutional jurisdiction over property rights, and we want to make sure that individuals are properly paid for the loss of their personal property.
That's going to be the tricky part right there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, for example, I've got some clients who are friends of mine, as a matter of fact, that own like 50 BMG rifle. The rifle's probably worth, $2,000-$3,000. I mean, depending on the firearm, maybe more. But they've got, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 worth of ammunition. That the only firearm they can utilize that in is that one that's being seized. So, our perspective is that they should be compensated for the loss of everything associated with that seizure.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of us that were into sports shooting or recreational shooting that are sitting on, 10,000 rounds of ammunition. It sounds like a big number to people that don't own guns, but when you go out for a weekend doing a training course or whatever, you're burning through 1,200 rounds. So
Correct.
All of that stuff is just, yeah. I mean, how do you shoot 8,000 rounds through a bolt action rifle, right? So anyway, it's a real mess. Now, we got about 2.5 minutes left. The CCFR had launched this grandfathering project to make sure that we presented a viable alternative to the government other than taking firearms from all just exclusively licensed gun owners and spending billions in the process at a time when Canadians can least afford it, obviously. I think we were both on the same kind of wavelength. What was your, I know that you have promoted that to the government, and what was your rationale?
Well, we promoted it saying that, look, this isn't something new. I mean, the 12.6 handguns have had the exact same thing. I mean, they came out with again, they like to put name tags, so they called them Saturday night specials, just like they call these assault weapons. I mean, I take offense to these designations, but it sounds good in the media. But, with their words, not mine, these Saturday night specials that they like to refer to, which are 12.6 classification, they allowed people to keep them, utilize them, take them to the range, store them, of course, with enhanced security storage, which they were doing already in most cases, and then sell them to other individuals who had the 12.6 classification. And then, of course, they stopped the import of them and the sale of them on a retail level to restrict the number that were coming into the system. And it's worked very well. I mean, it's proved itself. It hasn't created any issues, and they know where they are and who has them. And, we're saying, well, why aren't we at least looking at the same thing here? I mean, if you're allowing this on short-barreled handguns, why is a rifle, for goodness sakes, not eligible for the same type of consideration? But so far, we're just not getting any traction on that. But who knows, maybe as the budget comes out and all of the other spending with NATO and everything else that's in place in healthcare, potentially it'll, sober second thought, they'll revisit this or eliminate it entirely, which would be our preference.
Any other commentary on the idea of grandfathering, which I believe that they were never going to do in the first place, and that isn't the reason we suggested it. Any last thoughts?
Well, I don't see any other viable option, especially with the non-registered firearms. I mean, you don't know where they are and where they exist, and people, especially if they run out of money and they're not going to be doing a full buyback, and they just become prohibited. I don't know how they're going to get compliance around that issue. So you're either going to have non-compliance or you're going to grandfather the individuals that are left over or are involved. I don't see any other option.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Robert, we're out of time. I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully maybe you'll come on in the near future and we can talk more about this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on your program.
All right, we're back. Now, as usual, I only have you for about 2.5 minutes in this last section. Number one, most important thing is CCFR Field Officer of the Month for August 2025 is our great friend from Atlantic Canada, Jason Gallen. He's also a Board of Directors member. So Jason, for being Field Officer of the Month, you get a year's free subscription from CATF, otherwise known as Canadian Access to Firearms. donated every month by one of the best human beings in our community, Donovan Dewis over there. You get a $100 promo code for the CCFR online store. And of course, you get recognition here on the TV show and on our podcast. And a recognition in CATF. I don't want to forget that. But the bad news for Jason is he's going to have to share the glory with his wife, Amanda, because the two of them had a little one this year, and the three of them have been working shows, just killing it all summer. Unbelievable. I just got numbers recently, like as in yesterday, that the CCFR was represented by volunteers at just shy, in the last 9 months, just in 2025, at 100 events by volunteers. Just shy of 100 events. Like, that's unbelievable. You know, after the last election, I was pretty beat up. And I'm telling you something personal right now. And I think I might have mentioned it before. Like, I was having a hard time getting my head around that, because we put a lot of effort, a ton of money, and just in all the projects we've done, or even over the last 5 years, we've been just, it interferes at a high level in all of our lives, how much we've been working at this. And then just to lose that election was devastating. But then I look at our volunteers and they haven't given up. Like, I haven't given up either, but still I can feel it. I look at them, I'm like, man, wash that crap off and keep fighting. So we are going to continue to fight, whether until the point where we lose every single gun. We're going to fight right to that point, or we get everything back and more. Okay. So we are not giving up anytime soon. And things are changing really quickly in Canada. I've been around for almost 60 years and I've never seen politics cycle this quickly. This government may not last, and we will be right there. We were the 5th largest third-party advertiser in this last federal election in the entire country. We're there, we swing a big stick, and we're going to keep on fighting. So anyway, just want to let you know that. If you want to help, if you want to become a member of the CCFR, or you want to donate, or you want to volunteer, you can find information for all that stuff at ccfr.ca. That's ccfr.ca. Any help that you can provide is greatly appreciated. We've got projects, we've got ideas, we've got cards to play, and we will never stop. That I can promise you. Anyway, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.